At the crack of dawn, we're cooking it, brewing it, grilling it, flipping it. McDonald's fires up the griddle every morning so you can start digging into it and enjoying it. And mix and matching it with 2 breakfast sandwiches for $4. Egg McMuffin, sausage McMuffin with egg, or bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddles. Your choice, just $4. Add a small McCafe frappe for $2 more. Make your morning routine a little better. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev, Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. How you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topics, sort of like some rebels when it's game time. They like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerates speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4th and 26th, so the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated.
Turn me up in my headphones though. Alright, let me know if I'm choppy. B, what's good, War Room family? You are once again live in the War Room. Brought to you by War Room Sports on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dev McMillan, and I'm at the round table with my brother. We got B. Austin in the building. Jimmy the Blueprint is listed as doubtful again, as he's a little under the weather. Look, week 2 of the NFL season is in the books. We got to spit some bars about a great fight and some NBA news as well, so keep it locked right here. And if you want to get in on the conversation, make sure you sign in right now to the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/The War Room, or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports. You can also call us directly in about 5-10 minutes when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline. That number is 323-410-0012. Before we get started, make sure that during the week when we're not live on the air, you check out archive episodes of our show at warroomsports.com. The War Room Sports mobile app, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, and most other places you do your podcast listening. What up, B? Yo, I heard from your president that hurricane was one of the wettest in history from a water standpoint. What's wrong with your man's vocabulary? He said it was one of the wettest hurricanes in history from a water standpoint.
Yo, I didn't think there would ever be anyone in the White House dumber than Dan Quayle, but he got Dan Quayle beat by a mile.
You had Danny, you had old George W. Like, yo, the way people used to clown George W., like, I think dude is, like, intelligent in comparison to what we're dealing with
by
these days.
Far.
This
by
dude
far.
said it was the wettest hurricane in history from a water standpoint. What? Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm having some computer issues over here, so I know there's people probably trying to join us in the JW Philly Realty chat room. I'm going to try to get that open as we move along, but no promises here. No promises. I don't even have my notes and my stories and all that kind of stuff up, man. It's one of those type of days. But we're going to do this anyway because we're professionals and we've been doing this for a long time. So let's jump right into some hot topics. And as usual, hot topics are brought to you by MyBookie. Let me talk to you guys real quick about MyBookie. The NFL is back, so if you haven't checked out MyBookie, it's a great time to do so. You can lay down some dough on the biggest games in sports. Join us and thousands of other online players placing bets at mybookie.ag. You're tired of getting the runaround when it's time for a payout? That's why we urge you to join MyBookie. You win, they pay fast, without any hassles. You waste your time betting on sports anywhere else. They even have in-game live betting so you can place wagers after kickoff, tip-off, face-off, whatever you're betting on. Join now and MyBookie will match your first deposit.
Like, that's cheating to me. Like, they let you cheat.
I know, and that's the thing. Like, you know, since they've been a sponsor, like, I haven't tried to make any bets. I'm not much of a gambling man anyway, but I haven't tried to make any bets after kickoff. So, I gotta jump on and see what they talking about with that, because if some important wide receiver gets hurt on the opening kickoff, I'm hedging my bet and I'm gonna see if they honor it. But look, y'all can join right now. My bookie will match your first deposit with a 50% bonus. Just use the promo code WARROOM in all caps to activate the offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. Play, win, and get paid. There's nothing else to it. All right, so we're gonna we're gonna get into these hot topics. And hot topics, you can place your bet for hot topics like midway through. Just let us know. Anyway, did you get to see the Canelo Triple G Part 2 that went down Saturday night, B?
I missed it. But I heard.
Fight of the year. And the
no
crazy,
one defended anything. They just threw down.
They just threw. And I mean, it's amazing. And we thought this in the first fight. I know I thought this in the first fight. It's amazing that these guys can go toe-to-toe and just throw, because they're two of the hardest hitting, boxers in boxing, pound for pound. Definitely the hardest hitters in the middleweight division. So you would think there will be way more strategy involved in fighting each other. But these dudes have iron chins, because in 2 fights, they've walked through the best that the other one has had to offer. Like punches that had other opponents crumbling and doing the Zab Judah legs and doing the Roy Jones, I'm asleep, wake me up later. Like, it's amazing to see it happen. And it was a great fight from beginning to end. The decision was a little controversial for a lot of people, but what's new? It's boxing. Canelo won by a majority decision. Remember, the first fight was a draw. So the first scorecard had this as a draw, and then the other 2 had the fight scored slightly for Canelo. But a lot of people were upset, thinking that Triple G may have outpointed him and took some of the rounds that he got. I personally thought, like, my first indication would have been that it would have been another draw. But I think they were trying to get it over with so they can get these belts, get this thing moved on, possibly for another rematch, which if I'm one of these guys, I don't want to fight this guy again, because they're going to ruin each other's brains for any fight.
I ain't trying to.
Yeah, like,
I ain't trying to lose my fucking power any more than they already have.
Punching power, thinking power, like, they just keep beating up on each other, man. They're just gonna ruin each other for everybody else. So, yeah, man, it was a great fight. I would have scored it a draw, but I wasn't mad at the Canelo decision either. I wouldn't have been mad at all for a Triple G decision. It was that good of a fight, in my opinion. Triple G early in the fight was definitely working the jab. And, his jab is a little different from every other jab in the business, because his jab is damn near power punch. But power punches landed again, went to Canelo. So, the kind of stuff that kind of fools judges, activity, power punching, stuff like that. Even though I would say that Triple G was the more active fighter, Canelo still came away with the victory. So that's a great fight. You got your man Floyd talking about fighting Pac-Man again in December, coming out of retirement to fight Pac-Man. So I can guarantee you that, these 2 fights, this fight especially, is going to be a fight of the year contender way before Floyd and Pac-Man, get it done for another boring bout once again. But shout out to those guys. If they want to do it a third time, I'm all for it. I'm just saying, if I was one of them, I wouldn't take the fight again.
You would be like, no. I mean, let's take our analyst hat off for a minute. Well, my analyst hat is off when I ask this question. How do you feel when you hear Funny Jayweather talk about fighting Manny Pac-Man again? Like, how does that make you feel? Like, what are your thoughts when you hear such buffoonery? Like, where does that take you as a boxing fan?
I mean, I've always acknowledged the greatness of Floyd And even if you want to look at his roster of opponents, you know what I'm saying, there are going to be some great names on it. But what I do always say is Floyd knows when to pick fighters. You know, even if it's a younger fighter, like a Canelo, you know, because people ask, like, you know, if everybody want to say this, what's the excuse with a guy like Canelo? Well, at the time, Canelo was like 21 years old, though he had a lot of fights. I mean, you know how Mexican fighters are. When they first start, they fight every other Tuesday.
Yeah, Mexicans start fighting when they're 7 years old. So
right.
That's not
so
really
he had a lot of fights under his name, but he didn't have enough experience at 21 years old to be in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. The same thing with Manny. Like, the first Manny fight should have happened 5 years. Floyd kind of picked and chose when he was going to actually get that done. And we're doing this again. Like, Manny was over the hill the first time you guys fought. They're going to do it again some years later where he's really over the hill. Now, but this, because people will say, well, Floyd's older too. Now, this is where I compliment Floyd, because I don't think Floyd ages like other boxers. Like, he stays sharp. You know, his defense keeps him sharper than other fighters at a certain age. So he still has the luxury of picking and choosing, like, oh, this guy might be young and not ready for me yet. This guy might be old and over the hill. While Floyd kind of seems like he doesn't age, or his skill set doesn't age. So that's a compliment. I know people are probably sitting there, and, you know, that's definitely a compliment that he can choose and get away with what his skills are.
I hate dudes. But the last time we saw Floyd fight, dude didn't look any different than he did 8 years before that. Like, I don't see no age. I don't see no age, man. And people were nitpicking and trying to say, oh, well, if I'm him, I'm not training to fight a MMA fighter all that hard either. He knew what he had to do and where he had to be to win that fight. Floyd probably was eating grapefruit and laying on a beach and taking pictures with his money until the last second because he could afford to. I didn't see any age or even real ring rust when he fought McGregor, man. Even though that was a cowardly act in and of itself for him to even do that, disrespectful to the sport.
See, that was another thing. That was another pick and choose type thing. He was like, okay, McGregor's a great MMA fighter, but as long as he can't do most of that stuff, there's no way that this guy is going to have the skill set to see me in the ring. It was more competitive than we thought it would be, but it was another thing where Floyd knew, like, I can get this huge payday and not really be threatened. You know,
I'm gonna give a coward Floyd even more credit. I think it looked more competitive because he chose to make it. He was like, yo, I know how bad this really would look if I really wanted to be. So let me make it look like, yo, if he didn't want McGregor to touch him, McGregor wouldn't have touched him.
I thought about that as well because I was a little surprised at how McGregor touched him a little bit. And I'm like, that makes you ask the question, like, is Floyd finally aging, or did he have to stage this and make this look competitive for a little while before he just straight dominated this dude? We will never know. Well, we might, because Floyd is the type of dude, he'll tell you in some years from now, like, man, I let that dude hit me. So we might know. All right,
Floyd gonna say that. Floyd gonna say that whether it's true or not.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm still having issues over here. So this sounds like this is gonna be a show without notes. So we're not gonna have a lot of facts and quotes for some of these stories we talk about. So if we sound crazy, then we just your man Jimmy Butler has requested a trade from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Last year he didn't really get along too well with the young stars that the Timberwolves already had, and Cat and Andrew Wiggins. Now he's requesting a trade. I believe the three teams were New York, the LA Clippers, and I want to say the other team is Brooklyn. Like I said, don't have my notes, so, if that's not it and you want to call in and correct us or get in the chat room and correct us, please do. So what are your thoughts about Jimmy, this quickly requesting a trade? He's saying he would like to be traded by Media Day, which is this coming Monday. Like, what are your thoughts on this whole Jimmy Butler thing?
I'm salty that our brother Jim Browski got mononucleosis from kissing midgets, but he would be able to offer a very unique perspective on this, because I think he would see an alternative to what I'm about to say. I'm going to go ahead and give Jimmy Butler the benefit of saying that he's a bit of a throwback where his competitive nature is concerned, from what I've heard, because Jimmy Butler was supposed to be a tall nobody in life, and look where he is now. And so I think that he has a scratch and claw mentality, and I think that Cat and Wiggins are interested in taking pictures for Instagram and AAUing it up, and they're just happy to be here and be famous and getting paid a lot of money, as opposed to really committing themselves to being winning players. And I think that rubs Jimmy Butler the wrong way, but that's completely speculative on my part. I need to hear more from out of their locker room from another source to confirm what my speculation is. I'd like to hear what a guy like Jamal Crawford would have to say about it.
Right.
Like, I'm interested
No, I mean,
in hearing.
because, Jimmy has a history of being outspoken. Like, it's nothing for him to call out his teammates in the media. My thing with Jimmy, and I agree with you, like, Jimmy Butler is an overachiever. He has worked himself to be a top 15 to 20 player in the NBA. But I'm looking at some of the stuff that he does these days, including this trade request, including giving them a time limit on the trade request. Like, Jimmy Butler, he knows how hard he's worked, and he's really feeling himself right now. Like, who the hell is Jimmy Butler to tell? Because first of all, he also said Minnesota didn't want to. He wanted a $155 million extension, and they weren't ready to play ball. So, I mean, he's claiming that's why he wants to go, but we all do know it's documented that he has some problems with the younger guys on his team. You talking about what's coming out of their locker room. Like, now that he's made the request, all kinds of reality show, Love and Hip Hop type speculation is coming out now. Now we're hearing that Jimmy Butler might have slept with Karl Anthony Towns' girl. Because of this whole thing, Andrew Wiggins and Steven Jackson having a social media thug war right now. Steven Jackson has made 2 videos about Wiggins. Wiggins did a post that said, old heads always hating, like, you ain't even special with your bum ass.
I'm hopefully listening to this show. Listen, bro, you don't want that smoke. You from Canada.
Yeah, no, I mean, he don't want that smoke on that level, but Wiggins kept it kind of on a basketball level. He just called him a bum. And then, of course, but then he said something like, I keep the same energy wherever I go. So that's ambiguous. Steven Jackson, of course, took that one way. He didn't take that ambiguously. So Steven Jackson started talking about some street stuff on his video because, Wiggins, though he seemed to keep it basketball, he threw out the keep that same energy, and that could be read 100 different ways.
Listen, keep that same energy is one of my favorite slogans of all time, and it does come from this generation. I love it. I'm quoted as saying that on a number of occasions. Question for you. My perception of Steven Jackson is kind of the same perception that I have of one Dwight Grant, a.k.a. Beanie Siegel. I feel like Steven Jackson could have been a fringe 4 or 5-time All-Star, and because he kept it all the
4 or 5-time felon.
Yeah, he could have been that too. I think because he is so committed to keeping it real that it went wrong in terms of the results of where his career ended up. Although he had a great career and made over $100 million in salary, I feel like there was a chance that he could have eked out a little bit more in terms of accolades and accomplishments individually. What say you?
No, I guess as his career went on, I could say that I agree with you, but he's another that I would put in the category of overachiever because when he came into the NBA, we weren't really checking for Steven Jackson like that. But as we started to grow and learn his game, his greatest attribute to me was not knowing that he wasn't a superstar. So he went at anybody, he defended anybody, he talked smack to anybody, and he wasn't afraid of moments. So I think that's what kind of endeared us to Steven Jackson and his game. So once he displayed that kind of confidence, I think that's when we did start to expect more from him. Like, Steve, man, he's good enough. He got a nice little jumper. Looked like it'd take a while to get off, but he got the jumper. And he got the confidence. Yeah. I mean, that's all it takes sometimes is a little bit of confidence. A lot of players have stuff inside of them that they have to get out with a little bit of confidence. And, he never lacked for confidence. I say he was a rich, I say, what's the name, was a poor man's version of him, like a Matt Barnes, like a poor man version of Steven Jackson. You know what I'm saying? He could be your enforcer, but at the same time, you can lean on Steven for a few buckets in a couple of moments if you're a big guy, not doing their thing. You can lean on Steve. I don't know if you can lean on Matt like that.
You can't lean on Matt to get you no bucks. Steve took that Charlotte team to the playoffs and was giving out 24, 25 a game for damn near a season. Like, I got respect. I can look at him and say, had he not been from Port Arthur and so committed to the lifestyle of neck tattoos before everybody got a neck tattoo, I think dude could have ended up with, put it this way, I'll give you an alley-oop. Who's more talented, Steven Jackson or Chauncey Billups?
Yeah. Nah, I ain't gonna crap.
Go ahead and hate.
I ain't gonna crap on Chauncey like that. The other thing, you be thinking I'm hating. I'll just be telling you, like, Chauncey ain't what. Like, they put Chauncey in a class that he's not in, but I ain't gonna say Steve Jackson is. Steve Jackson was taller than Chauncey Billups. That's all I'm gonna give you. So I reject your alley-oop. I take that and I dribble it and I lay it up. All
man,
right, so,
Steven Jackson 30 easy.
One last thing before we go to the phone lines. The Sixers have a GM now, and that GM is one Mr. Elton Brand. This is one of those things like, man, it makes you, at least in my case, you're almost, but it makes you feel old when you're older than the GM of your favorite team that you've rooted for all your life. So yeah, Elton is now, he was the GM of the G League affiliate in Philly, and through their search, he ended up getting the job. Now I've heard mixed reviews. I heard some people like, the hell are they doing? He doesn't have that kind of experience. But to combat that, it's like, how do you get the experience if nobody ever is going to give you the experience? Two, I've heard people say stuff like, somebody said something that was funny. I'll skip to the next one until I remember that. But, it just seems like people think he may end up doing a bad job. Somebody said he's going to finish where Billy King started.
That's funny.
Like, yeah, people were killing Elton a little bit. Then there, of course, there were a lot of people who had his back. Shout out to your man who, who I'm talking about, who's always using hyperbole, the big Donovan fan. He said a whole lot of great stuff about Elton Brand and the work he's put in, and he'll do a great job and this and that. Like, I'm of the mindset where I have no idea what kind of job he'll do, so I'm not going to vouch for him either way. I ain't crapping on him. Right. I mean, I've grown to the point though, B, like with all of the teams that I root for, like I no longer like scrutinize coaching hires and GM hires. Team, you do what you want. We'll see how it plays out. You know what I'm saying? I think my last scrutiny in Philly for a hire was probably Chip Kelly. And even that was short-lived. You know, I said my piece, and then, you know, I got behind the coach until he proved what we were talking about from the very beginning. So, you know, but while he was jumping off the cliff, I was right there cheering him on. So, you know, I said my piece, and then, but now these days I don't even care because we don't really know what somebody knows, what they don't, what they're gonna do, what they're not gonna do. You got thoughts on this one?
Yeah. Yo, man, congratulations to Elton Brand. It's kind of crazy because he was one of those guys that, in one of our delusional fits of confidence, of overconfidence, we probably think that at some level, I know I do, that I'm better than Elton Brand at basketball. But that has nothing to do with him being a GM. You know, so I think that I don't know. It's like you said. I don't know. He very well may be a good GM. He wasn't.
I mean, if he started destroying stuff, I'm gonna kill him. But right now, I don't have anything negative to say, like a lot of other people. But listen, yeah. I mean, that's another thing your man Hyperbole Man said. He was like, yeah. I mean, he's a Duke graduate. I'm like, dude, he went to Duke for like a year or two. Like, it's well documented that he left. Duke alum and Duke fans were killing him for leaving because he was one of the first people to do that. Back then, dudes weren't leaving Duke early. It was like him and the point guard, Avery, whatever his name was. Like, Corey Spaghetti. And they started the trend. Right. Like, all of those dudes followed, like, Elton Brand. And, so, yeah, he's not I looked it up. He didn't go back and get his degree. I mean, I would kind of figure that being a GM, since you got to crunch numbers and all that kind of stuff, is like a degree required thing. But, you know, I mean, basketball players, all of those guys who ended up in front offices don't all have degrees. So.
Magic is all you can do is smile and cheat on cookies. You all right? No, man.
Yeah. I mean, and plus we're in the era where everybody hires a capologist. Everybody hires an analytics guy. So as a GM, you know, I guess these days the requirements are you have your eye for talent, and you learn to be a great delegator because you're going to have to delegate stuff to your analytics guys, your scouts, your capologists, and, you know, everybody that's going to keep the money from looking like a New York Knicks roster. So much respect to him. Shout out to him. Congratulations to him. And I hope he trusts the process. That's all I got to say. Let's go to the phone lines. We got a couple lined up. We got the homie Naj calling from down in GA, home of this year's Super Bowl. What up, Naj? What's going on?
Hey, what up with y'all? What up, homie?
Chilling. Just looking at all the crazy news. Your man Jimmy Butler wants out. Jimmy the superstar.
Steven Jackson will pick up.
Hey man, the Wiggins thing is weird because we've lost the idea of respect for the elders to a degree. And I don't mean that in the old sense of always defer to them. I mean in the sense of if it's a fight you can't win on that front, then you flip the argument. Wiggins should have said, "Oh, okay, that's cool, man. I mean that's his criticism of me. You know, I'm just gonna keep trying to get better." Man, if he had took the high ground, S. Jack got nowhere to go. S. Jack just looking crazy, angry, and bitter. But the moment
looking
you
like
come
a bitter
at him,
old man.
now you on S. Jack, you on his battlefield, and you're not going to win because he's going to have more bars than you. And if it really get physical, you don't really want to do that. So, yeah, sometimes you got to be a little more strategic, man. You know what
because
I mean?
Because it is documented that Steve Jackson do bust his gun.
Yeah.
We know that to be fact. That's not
speculation. I agree. Like Wiggins, he definitely didn't have to throw out the ambiguous phrase, I keep that same energy wherever I go, because he might be in some weird way talking about, you know, basketball. You know, I'm confident about my game. I keep that same energy. But a dude like Steven Jackson is immediately going to take that as, oh, I keep that same energy. So when I see you, I'm going to say the same thing in your face. That's not what you
right. I don't want to hear about young blood getting slapped somewhere at some nightclub or something, man. That's not a good thing for your career. ever. So I hope this goes the right way. Somebody got to step in. And just this whole conversation brings us back to, okay, all these GMs who are coming in, hey, you went to Ivy League school, you're a number cruncher. Okay, you got people under you who are running things through the optimizers and algorithms for you. You're not actually crunching the numbers yourself, so Elton Brand can do the same thing. You delegate.
But as long as he's a good delegator, he'll be cool.
But then you got the added part of the basketball part, which is, basketball culture. If you're in Minnesota and you see Jimmy and these guys arguing and you don't have a basketball background or you ain't really from that culture, you say, oh, I guess we got to get rid of Jimmy. Man, if you're of the culture guy, Jerry West probably used to take Kobe out to dinner, sit him down and tell him stories about how he used to think about killing Wilt. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, man, this will pass. You get over it. Y'all figure out. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not of the culture, you take these things as final and you just kind of let the player dictate things where it's a little bit of finesse. I think you can work most of this stuff out. Jimmy's a go-hard guy, and young boy's a little too laid back. Y'all can meet in the middle on that. You don't blow it up because it's hard to put that kind of talent together. But you keep going for the okie doke.
Do you think having Tibbs involved now will help?
Oh, dude, the worst hire I've ever talked about the last 20 years to me was Tibbs. Ain't no way in hell I'd let Tibbs around any young players. You don't let this dude drive all these young boys into the ground with Jimmy riding shotgun, telling them they need to play 38 minutes a game and be bone on bone like him. Hell no.
No.
And if
I think the only team that Tibbs should have taken over. Only team Tibbs should have taken over is if Pop would have stepped down. But even now, that's not even a good thing because the Spurs are getting younger. So, yeah, Tibbs,
right?
He might not be right for the league right now.
And especially a 7-footer like Cat, man. We did a couple years of Tibbs. Next thing you know, Cat is immobile, walking around with extra, knee braces, pads, and everything else. And I ain't trying to see that, man. So, keep Tibbs away from young players, man. He's a danger. Dare to keep your franchise off Tibbs. He is a drug. I don't like to do that. But and then I guess you guys hit on some of the football stuff. Can we all admit we don't know nothing? It's week 2. Weird things are happening. We got 2 ties. We got Fitzpatrick touchdowns. We don't know anything, man. Just make your bets like everybody else.
Nah, you are far too intelligent and practical and full of common sense for the world we live in today. Why would you ask such a reasonable thing? That's not even what we do.
No. You know damn well that the MVP is a 2-man race between Patrick Mahomes and Ryan Fitzpatrick. You know that.
There you go. They're the best 2 quarterbacks in the world right now. What's wrong with you?
Of course, we know
this every year. That's the funny part about it. We overreact every year. Oh, and before I get out, the Floyd thing y'all talked about. Look, man, Floyd carried your boy Conor that last fight. This was like the 1920s where you would go to the Garden and the mafioso would tell the guy, look, he goes down in the 5th. So you drag him around to the 5th and then you lay it on him. That's what he did, man. It was a cash grab. It was ugly. Nope,
I'm glad you saw it. I'm not saying you didn't see it, Dev, but that's exactly what I don't think your man Conor McGregor could have even came close to touching Floyd if Floyd didn't want to get touched. Floyd was like, I'll let him hit me a couple times and make it look like it ain't completely staged. Man, that dude.
Go watch that first round again and watch Floyd throw a total of 7 punches. Go watch that first round again. It is amazing.
He got off definitely with the punch output. But I think dude got lucky a few times and caught him because even if you wanted to carry him a little bit, you still don't know like the strength of this dude, coming from MMA. So you really don't want to risk getting punched real hard. So, some of those he might have got in.
Well, go back and watch the fight and watch those looping, feathery punches that Conor was throwing. Floyd had no problem getting hit by any of those because there wasn't nothing behind them, man. They were just quick, soft punches. They wasn't going to do anything. But look,
and that is another thing. Floyd, he studies the game, so they probably talk to every single dude he sparred with.
Overstated, bro. It didn't matter if he fought Pacquiao when he was 23, 19, whatever. Pacquiao was tailor-made to lose to Floyd. He doesn't defend himself. He doesn't stay in position. He's wild and reckless, and he's not disciplined. Floyd is always going to beat a man.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong.
That's
I
true.
don't think Pacquiao could beat Floyd at any age. I'm just looking at Pacquiao being older as if, like, okay, Pacquiao is more apt to get in a lucky shot at a younger age.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
you're speaking from a technical standpoint. Absolutely, totally agree. But I feel like a 24, 26, 28-year-old Pacquiao has an opportunity to be lucky with all of that power he's got and land something that we love to see in sports, which is the upset. A 30-something-year-old.
Yeah, but then we're talking about a young Floyd, though, too. So, I mean, I think he gets him out of there quick. We're talking about a young Floyd before the hand problems. Like, Pacquiao was just a bad match for him all the way, but it was so hyped because everybody wanted to see somebody beat up Floyd. Go back to Prince Nassim. All of those fighters who we thought were going to beat Prince Nassim, who did it end up being? The fundamental plotter who had quick hands and just beat the hell out of the Prince. And that's the type of guy who was going to beat Floyd. It wasn't going to be anybody who's undisciplined, swinging, hoping for that lucky punch. It's
still in my feelings
ticket,
about
bro.
Prince.
You ain't getting that lucky one.
Yeah, I think I just wanted more action. Like, I didn't care who won. I just wanted more action.
Yeah,
so
true.
Younger Manny wouldn't be as afraid to push the action a little bit.
Pushing the action sounds all well and good until you take 2 steps forward and you get that right hand. And then all of a sudden you want to stop taking those chances so much because that right hand hurts.
Then the action stops. All right, I'm cool. I tried.
But, y'all hold it down, man. Y'all know me. I'm going to hang back with y'all. Y'all doing the Lord's work as usual, man, because there's so much bad radio out here. Keep doing what y'all do.
No doubt. Thank you, man. We appreciate that. Thanks for your call. All right, let's go. We got Tobias calling in from out in the Zona. What up, Tobias?
Roll down Tide, gentlemen.
The Tides are rolling.
Roll Tide Invitational.
Hey, like I said, the Roll Tide Invitational makes it stop in Tuscaloosa this weekend, and everybody's flavor of the month, Texas A&M, will be made an example out of. But
what's Bama's score? You know, what's their margin so far this season? Like 180 to like 21.
Hey, all I got to say is that remember how all these folks, including Fred, was talking about Jalen Hurts earlier. I was like, this guy is like the game genie when we was kids. This guy Tua is unstoppable right now, and they putting up record margins. It's like Vegas can't even put up a good line right now because Alabama's breaking it, and they shutting it down at halftime.
Tobias is having fun out here. He got 2 quarterbacks on fire. We got 2.
There you go. There you go.
He on fire right now.
But I got to talk about Jimmy Butler real quick.
Go ahead.
Before we talk about Fitzpatrick, but just Jimmy Butler. And it's like, see, the thing is that sometimes you draft on talent, but you don't know how that player is until you get them in the room. And it's like, as a Bulls fan, I thought Jimmy Butler would be one of these guys that hang around 4 or 5 years, be out the league or something like that. But he worked his ass off to be the good player he is, all-star level player he is today.
Definitely did.
And he probably looking at Big Cat, who, when they switched Chris Paul on him, he wanted to run to the three-point line instead of taking this 5'11" guy to the post. That's a whole different show. But he's looking at him and Wiggins. He's probably looking at him like, dude, you got all these skills, more talent than me. If you just put the work and the dedication in how good you could be. It reminds me of the suburban black kid who goes to jail for selling dope, even though he got all the privileges. That's what it reminds me of. Because look at all the talent Wiggins and Cat has. But do you remember a moment from them? Against Houston, that playoff series, what was their moment? They put up good numbers, but did they do anything to help win?
Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Yeah.
Yo, the saddest thing about that, Tobias, is I remember Derrick Rose more than I remember them.
Hey, and Derrick, before them injuries went out, he brung it. But
he's talking about in Minnesota in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, that too. And he brung it then too. He played good ball actually. And but it just shows that sometimes it's like everybody doesn't have it upstairs or in their chest. And I remember Shannon Sharp said this morning, told Wiggins, told Steven Jackson, let that go, because Steven will pull up on you. You know.
He will.
He will.
Yeah,
like me, I'm mad that it even has to go or even potentially go to that place. So, I would be mad at Steven Jackson for that. But, Wiggins can stop talking. He can always stop talking.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we all want to be a man, but, just stop talking. Like the homie Nas said when he called, if he stops talking, takes the high road, then Steven Jackson just looks like a bitter old man. And he starts to look like the bad guy. So just stop talking.
And you know what? Y'all talk about Elton Brand. If I was interviewing Elton Brand for that job, I'd ask him one question. Would you sign Fat Barry Parker or sack the light-skinned Trampoline Levine to big contracts? If he said no, you're hired. That's probably my one interview question.
That's what somebody said, B. They said obviously it wasn't you, was it, Tobias? Somebody was like, obviously Elton Brand has been to the Mike Brown School of Interviewing. And then
hey, have y'all seen the Bulls front office? If they could keep a job for 10+ years, I'll give Elton Brand a shot. That's all I got to say. We got a lot of bad GMs in the NBA.
The good thing about Elton Brand, though, because he is closer in age to the players that he's going to be,
he can relate to them.
Scouting, recruiting. He definitely can relate. And if you've ever, you're a Bulls fan, so you had, you had moments where you can remember Elton Brand talking and stuff like that. He always seemed like a cool dude, and he always seemed even keel. Like, Elton Brand never came across to me like a lot of these players do when they talk. Like I don't sit back and be like, yo, he corny? You know what I mean? So Elton Brand, like
anything kind of,
he's relatable.
So, right. So he might have that, just that persona about him that players can get with and, want to follow. So, yeah, it's cool. Give him a shot. Like I said, if he messed up, then get him out of here. But
yeah, and like y'all talking about, like I know you're talking about Fitzpatrick. The media's talking about Fitzpatrick. I had a Bucs fan, a Bucs group on man, who said straight up that he traded Jameis for Trubisky. And how much a lot of these people hate Jameis. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, that's Trubisky in Chicago.
Wow. Straight up for Trubisky. Yeah. Trubisky hasn't impressed me yet. Like, Trubisky has shown flashes, but I think Trubisky is a little reckless. I think he's a bit inaccurate. I wouldn't be trading Jameis straight up for Trubisky. Trubisky would have to show me some more. Like, the only benefit that you would get in that situation as a Bucs fan is somebody who's 2 years younger. You're getting younger by 2 years. Not worth it.
And the thing is, though, also, it's like, I know people making a big deal out the girl suing him. Stuff always happens. You already know you're going to have to cut her a check and keep it moving. But people don't realize, because I actually watched the games, the Bucs defense is still god-awful. The running game is still trash. Ryan Fitzpatrick hit 70-something% of his passes.
Big plays.
He hit every deep pass, right?
Yeah.
And they still only won both those games by one possession. So,
yeah, I mean, that's a defense. You know what? Because the Bucs have been. That's why it's gonna be a little difficult to maintain this level, because so far they've been dependent on the big play. Now you have big play threats, so it's out there for you, all the time, every week. But defenses are going to have to do something. They're going to have to give up more of the inside, to stop what's going on deep down the field. Like, you look at that game on Sunday, it could have been a totally different game. First of all, who knows what Malcolm Jenkins was doing on the first play of the game? And he's usually smarter than that. We all know that. So who knows what he was doing on the first play of the game? Why you played Deshaun for an inside route rather than staying to help over the top? Who cares if Deshaun catches a 10-yard pass? He going to run out of bounds. He don't want to get touched. So it was like,
or lay down.
It's like, you look at that play, and then you look at the other play. Who caught the other one, the 75-yarder? Was that Evans? No, that was
O.J. Howard. It was O.J. Howard,
yeah. Tight end. What the hell was Darby trying to do on the tackle? Well, what was he not trying to do? And that was tackle. So it's like you look at those two big plays, the game was a little bit more even if you take them away. But, hey, it is what it is. You can't take them away. They let them happen. But on a consistent basis, I think the Bucs are going to have to learn to sustain drives because that's not going to always be there. And if they keep forcing it when it stops being there, that's when they're going to make Fitzpatrick look bad because, that's when he's going to be throwing deep in it. He's going to be throwing punt interceptions and stuff like that, like we see from him at his post-contract days.
Listen,
give it up to him,
we warned Tobias when the Fitzpatrick signing happened. We told him this. I told you that this was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to look this good.
He might end up getting the job. Not through suspension, but he might have ended up getting it just off some.
He gets the bag.
And for 6.5 to 7 games, he is going to look like John Elway Montana.
John L. Marino.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Do not be fooled. I'm telling you, it's fool's gold. I don't understand how he does it.
Me either.
I mean, you put everything in perspective. Fitzpatrick is a great backup quarterback. He's definitely a great backup quarterback.
No shame in that.
And you know why? But the reason why you can definitively say he's a great backup quarterback is because every time he has to back up, he has to get in, he makes it interesting and he makes it an argument or he gets a contract. So, he's been a backup to some bad quarterbacks, but maybe he should have been starting in the first place. But this situation is interesting because Jameis Winston is no bum. I don't think he's lived up to what we thought he was yet, but Jameis Winston is no bum. So
damn sure
I think
disappointed me.
The decision will be easier for Tampa if he doesn't have a good game on Monday night this week. If he has a third game of 400 yards passing, even if he doesn't get to the 400-yard mark, gets 3 or 4 more touchdowns, and his completion percentage is good, they're going to have a decision
going to
make.
Chicago.
Well, I'm about to say, they're going to have a decision to make when he comes back. But I think they'll give Jameis the benefit of the doubt. If he stinks it up against Pittsburgh Monday night, then I think all is well, and Jameis will get his job.
You know what, guys?
Tobias, I'm going to let you know a little secret. He can't stick it up Monday night. You know why? Because he's going to be my fantasy quarterback on Monday night.
He got y'all full. Hey, he got y'all full.
It wasn't a full Kool-Aid drink. It wasn't a full Kool-Aid drink. I got your man that you love so much, Andrew Luck, as my starting quarterback, right?
Yeah.
He's playing the Eagles.
Hey.
Never in my life. My rules. My first rules are, and I've broke them a little bit lately. I didn't draft players from the NFC East. Didn't want to root for Washington Giants or Cowboys players on my fantasy team. Now, if cats like Odell Beckham are on the board, like, I'm not stupid. I got to take dude. You know what I'm saying?
You got to think that.
I think a time or two when Dez was still one of the tops, I think Dez was on the team.
You got to take him.
So, yeah, some guys you got to take. So another rule that I had that I've never broken, if there's, if my quarterback is playing against my team, then I just can't start him. So my backup was David Carr. So I'm like, do I start David Carr or do I take 1 week of a chance on Fitzmagic? So I dropped David Carr's ass and I went and picked up Fitzmagic. So he better ball and he better make it interesting for Jameis when he comes back because this week I'm rooting for him.
You know what? And the thing is that I think Fitzpatrick start. I think Fitzpatrick will start week 4 in Chicago. It's a short week. But here's the other thing that put Jameis in a bad spot because Ryan Fitzpatrick's playing the game of his life. He's putting up Madden numbers pretty much, Madden on rookie mode numbers. So Jameis Winston throws a 275. They're like, oh, put Fitzpatrick back in, hold the team back. And so there's a lot of pressure right there as well. But I think the problem is that, and I always say this about players when you put these young quarterbacks in. Has Jameis Winston's perfect? Hell no, he isn't. It's stuff he still can work on. But people who don't watch the games don't realize that team had to be rebuilt from the ground up, and they have a lot of young players who are finally maturing as players. And many of these, the good young quarterbacks everyone's hyping up. A lot of those teams they went to weren't horrible. They got good veteran players to teach them how to be pros. good, solid organizations that could actually help where they didn't have to have everything on their shoulders, like your boy Luck, when they first got there. And I think that's understated in the NFL.
Right. No, I feel you. All right, but Tobias, as usual, man, thanks for your call. We appreciate it. We're going to move on and get to some more stuff, man. Roll damn
Take
tide.
it easy, guys.
All
Roll
right.
tide. Peace.
All right, we're going to take one more. We're gonna go to the homie Rob because we didn't get to him last week. I saw him on our Facebook in our inbox like, yo, I've been on for an hour. So our bad, Rob. We're going to get to you now. What's going on? We got Rob out in Cali. Rob, what's up, man?
Rob.
Well, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yo, what's up, man? Yo, what's up, your boy Rob, a.k.a. Joe Bun. The only time you ever had hits was when you slapping chicks. What's up, man? How y'all doing, man? We good.
Ain't this my man, Joe, man?
Actually, not true, but it was funny.
Hey, all I gotta say is we gotta talk about Picture with Tape because Eminem is Thanos. I gotta call him Thanos because I mean, hey, if you want to bring best out of somebody, talk about somebody's kids. Anyways, he's dope. He's the man. I ain't gonna lie.
You think what he did
How y'all doing?
recently is that great? No, nothing. What's up, man? So what you think about?
I mean, it's not. What's up?
No, what you think about the Eagles so far? I know you like to talk about your birds. Even though you always talk about the Cowboys online, I don't know why you give them so much attention.
I did not give them attention. I just reposted what
you
I thought was
about
funny.
Cowboys at least 3 times this week. We ain't even playing them this week.
Oh.
And then people wonder why they're America's team because they get attention when they don't deserve it. That moniker is well deserved. America's team.
It is what it is, but you know what? I'm gonna tell you like this, and I'll be honest with y'all. I gotta be honest. To me, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm not gonna give some crazy number. Whether we have a good season or not, last year, I will always cherish that moment forever. I'm still gonna hold on to that moment.
You ain't got no choice. It's Philadelphia. It might not ever happen again.
I mean, stop it, Dad. Stop it. Blasphemy.
Dude, blasphemy. Come on, man. I've lived it. 40 years. It took me 40 years to get a championship. I've lived it. So I ain't mad,
Oh Lord, yeah. I mean, but one thing about this season, it's gonna be a long season. I'm coming with some crazy. I mean, Jay Ajayi, he has to activate his dreadlock powers, but I don't know. He's injured right now. I hope the Bills do bad.
You can't ask for. There's a lot of people banged up right now. Wentz hasn't played yet. He's going to play this week. Sproles got banged up. Peters got banged up. Like mostly, except for on the defensive side, everybody who was banged up last year is kind of banged up now. Plus some. Ajayi went in and out of that game last week. Alshon hasn't played yet. So it's like, once the team comes back and gets healthy, it's still a talented team. So I don't necessarily agree like, it's going to be a long season. We don't know what Wentz can and cannot do. We're going to start to find out this week. And then when some of the pieces start coming back, they'll be way more competitive. Like even last week in a game where they gave up 2 big plays that did them in pretty early, they still had the gumption to fight back and actually be able to have the ball last with a chance to go down and win the game. They just didn't have enough time and enough timeouts. Things happen, and everybody's going to give them their best shot because they just won the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to be that long of a season. I think they'll still win this division. And then,
11-5.
I'll say 10-6. That'll win the division.
10-6
in the East. NFC East is truck juice right now. I think 10-6.
That's true. And by the way, I never really, even Eagles fan bases, I never really. My beef with the secondary is not the corner is not necessarily the cornerback that is the scheme because they have a lot of talent at cornerback. Sidney Jones, PFF said he's really like the best slot corner right now. You know, Ronald Darby, when he's at his A game, he's worth the money that is worth. But when he's not, it just depends. He just got to stay away from Jameis Winston. But they've
all made bonehead plays so far this season. And one of Darby's came against Tampa. One of Malcolm Jenkins, who we usually don't see make bonehead plays, came against Tampa. I can't fathom why you would play Deshaun Jackson like that. But it happened. Hopefully, film study will make them learn from their mistakes, and we don't have to see too many of them anymore. In a game, also another one, there's certain receivers where it's obvious that these guys are a little afraid of because they were playing off these guys like 10 yards for most of the game, especially after they got burnt.
They always do that. They always do that. They always play 10 yards. But this game, I can understand. I mean, come on, you're playing against Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a man beast. Deshaun Jackson.
After you get touched up, but when you're in the fourth quarter and you still have a chance to win, and all you have to do is get them off the field, you can't play that far back because a first down beats you, especially when you're spending your timeout. Had they not played back like that, they would have got the ball back faster and had a better chance to win that game.
Rob, there's a common misconception that when someone is faster than you, you always give them a cushion. That is one way of playing it. But if you're faster than me, but I feel as though I can put my hands on you at the line of scrimmage, all I have to do is mess the time up. If I put my hands on Deshaun Jackson right now, they might throw a holding flag. He's not getting away from me. All you got to do is hold him up and mess the timing up. So always giving up a cushion becomes a weakness.
You're exactly right, because somebody as fast as Deshaun, giving a cushion, all you're doing by giving him a cushion is giving him a head of steam to get.
Giving him a running start.
Yeah, you're giving him a running start. He's going to run past you. If you jam him up at the line a little bit, and once he gets away from your jam, he outrun you, you still got your safety helmet. But what the hell do we know? What the hell?
No, you're right. You're right.
You're right. I'm just saying by the way they're playing, what do we know? They're doing something totally different.
We haven't seen because we have very finesse corners. We haven't seen too much jamming or corners who can jam like that in a while. I mean, they're playing.
Yeah, we got little guys back there.
We don't have big cover zero corners. We don't have guys that are going to get up and wrestle you, MMA fight you at the line of scrimmage. We got
which is understandable. But any corner can be that corner against Deshaun Jackson. The dude weighs like 160 pounds. Any corner could be that against Deshaun Jackson.
Wait. I got you. This is why I got to finish Deshaun Jackson. This is why I got to finish. He's LA bound. Yeah, but he still holds the NFL record for most touchdowns over 50 yards.
No, and I understand that. That's actually one of our stats of the week. And since you got us into it, we'll do that so we won't be long after you get off, and you still got to do some stuff. So let's do our stat of the week while we got Rob on the line. We got two. Actually, we have three of them. The first stat of the week is Khalil Mack in 2 games. Really, after 6 quarters, Khalil Mack has better statistics than the entire Raiders defense after 2 weeks. And your man John Gruden keeps asking the question after Raiders losses. Like, I don't understand why we're not getting sacks on the quarterback. And like we told you last week, it might have something to do with trading Lawrence Taylor Jr. right before the season started. So look at this. Khalil Mack. This is 6 quarters, though. This is 6 quarters of Khalil Mack versus 2 games for the Oakland Raiders. Mack has 2 sacks. The Raiders have 2 sacks. Mack has 1 interception. The Raiders have 1 interception. Mac has 2 forced fumbles. The Raiders have 1 forced fumble. Mac has 1 fumble recovery. The Raiders have 0 fumbles recovered. Mac has 1 touchdown. The Raiders have 0 defensive touchdowns. So that's Mac in 6 quarters versus the Raiders' whole defense in 8 quarters. But John Gruden keeps wondering why his team's defense is so bad. And you traded the defensive player of the year. Potential candidate for defensive player of this upcoming decade to another team. But, I guess he'll figure that out after some point.
It's idiotic. It's idiotic.
Trade really bothers me, but shows how out of touch John Gruden is. Like, when guys are in Khalil Mack's shoes, they always hold out to get the extension against that 5th-year option. That's part of the key for that.
I mean, it also shows us, even after 10 years, Gruden is still that arrogant of a coach where he thinks, my system, if I plug and play, if I do this, I do that, things are going to work. Kind of an old way of thinking. Belichick is still there, and he's still successful doing that. But 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, talent is what you need in this league. Like Chip Kelly found that out the hard way. John Gruden might find that out the hard way, or he might prove that he's still a good coach. Who knows? But we got 2 more stats real quick, and they're both DeSean Jackson. Like Rob started to allude to, DeSean Jackson has tied Jerry Rice for the number of 60-plus yard touchdowns in NFL history with 23. First of all, kudos to DeSean Jackson for that. Shout out to him. We always called him a one-trick pony. He's good at his one trick, no doubt. I'm even more impressed that Jerry Rice was the guy who held that record, though, because as great as we know him to be, and as much as some people say cats like Randy Moss are better than him, but is better than him because of Randy Moss being such a deep threat, it's like, how the slow, overachieving, possibly greatest football player of all time, Jerry Rice, how is he the leader in that? I mean, now, a lot of his came on 5-yard slants across the middle that he just took to the house, which is impressive in itself as well, because the way they talked about Jerry Rice, you would expect him to get caught on plays like that, and he didn't get caught on plays like that. So shout out to DeSean Jackson for tying that. He's going to be, undoubtedly, he's going to hold that record. And, he might end up holding it for a very long time because it's not an easy record to have. Something else that I wanted to bring up about DeSean Jackson. DeSean Jackson, I don't know exactly what the numbers are on this, but he is the Eagles' all-time leader in 50-plus yard receptions as well. But he is also the leader in 50-plus yard receptions against the Eagles. So he was that deep threat guy for the Eagles. Since he's been away from the team, he's been kind of the Eagle killer going deep as well. So that's amazing to hold the record for a team and against the same team because he's so motivated every time he comes in. He was still, after this game, he was still cursing at people and showing that he's bitter. Look, man, your enemy is in L.A. right now. Your enemy is coaching for UCLA. Like, there's nobody on that team who had anything to do with that. That was a power move by Chip Kelly, so I don't know why you're still mad at everybody. It's definitely not a Howie thing because they basically put Howie on timeout for 2 years while Chip was there. So shout out to D-Jack with these records, and shout out to D-Jack for still being bitter and still wanting to be an Eagle after all these years. So, Rob, you got anything real quick? Because we got to move on.
Kelly robbed him of that Super Bowl.
I ain't got no Super Bowl, but I will say this. Thanks for saying Lawrence Taylor Jr. because because my dad's a big Giants fan, and he always, when I was a kid, always told me how great and how important Lawrence Taylor was at football, and And you know, when a Bears fan told me they trade, I saw a Bears fan would like finally trade for Khalil Mack, and they said they said if you ask Packers fans if they would trade 2 or 3 of the first round picks for Reggie White, you know they have free agency, they'll say hell of yeah, because you know people understand. Because a pass rusher, yes, you may make an argument you don't pay for a quarterback, but a pass rusher is more important, is just as important as a quarterback. If you don't believe me, ask your boy Jimmy.
Because a pass rusher makes linebackers and defensive backs look better. A pass rusher doesn't make, guys like Darby guard for 4 and 5 seconds. You know what I'm saying? A pass rush gets them dudes out of there in 3 seconds.
He'll make your quarterback look like all pro. He'll make your quarterback look all pro. I do want to ask y'all this. This is really a picture to take. You know, hopefully y'all bring out attention to take because we gotta talk. Hip hop because what's his name? Got me going crazy right now. What do you think of the Eminem disses? I don't know if y'all really heard his. Because I listened to his album, and first of all, I'm not gonna lie. I listened. This is one of the few Eminem albums I listened to in its entirety, and I mean, it's kind of sad that it took this to really put out it took really this beat to actually make hip hop beats great again, rap beats great again. You know, we don't get no more Jada Kiss or beef.
I really don't think this beef has done much for hip hop. I think people might be overstating it a little bit. I'm an Eminem fan. Like you said, I'm not really that dude.
Your boy in Philly ruined the beef, though.
He's more of a Philly guy for me. Because I listen to Eminem when I just want to hear bars and I want to make faces like ill. But I'm not really checking for him for an album. But as far as this whole thing is concerned, like first, I didn't know much about Machine Gun Kelly in the first place. What he did was okay. It shows me that the dude can rap when he wants to. Nothing more, nothing less. Eminem's comeback. Jimmy will tell you. We talked about it earlier this week. Jimmy thinks it's a little bit light, and I don't necessarily disagree. I was just of the mindset like I actually like the song. And I don't really care about Machine Gun Kelly and Eminem's beef enough to sit back and critique their battle the way I would anybody else's because half of the stuff I wouldn't even know what they're talking about because I don't follow their personal lives like that. But, as far as bars, Eminem, I think he proved what everybody already knew. Like, I got bars. You're not going to be able to out-bar me. And I had a disagreement with Jimmy because Jimmy thought that Eminem should have been way more petty in his response. My thing was like with his stature, like I think Eminem would look more like a noodle if he spent time researching the personal life of Machine Gun Kelly. You know what I mean? And coming out to be super petty. I think something like that, you just come out, slap the young boy on the wrist, show him that you can out-bar him anytime you feel like it, and then move on about your business. But a lot of people expected a whole lot more from him. I'm not mad at them for what they wanted. I just happen to like the song. But if you ask me about the battle, it's being a little overblown, in my opinion. But, Rob, we got to roll out, dude. It's
all right, Rob.
We only got 50 minutes left, and we'll wrap to you next week, man. But I'll tell them Tissue and the Tape boys to get you some responses on that as well. All right. Peace.
All right.
All right. So real quick before we move on to what happened while y'all was on the grind, as usual, you guys can hit us up on the website warroomsports.com. But if you want to call in and speak with us about any of today's topics, you can call the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline at numbers 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted, but if you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. Okay, I'm just now looking at the chat room. It was Skyview 1. It was Skyview Kev that said he went to the Mike Brown School of Interviewing. Yeah, that definitely was him. He also said if y'all get around to it, Antonio Brown should take a look at Mike Wallace when he went to Miami and sit his happy ass down somewhere. Yeah, we're gonna get to Antonio Brown and his situation in just a few minutes. But before we do that, we're gonna talk about what happened this week while y'all were on the grind. On the Grind is brought to you by Sports the Book. You guys tired of reading the same old sports books with the same old lists, rankings, imaginary starting lineups, and all kinds of subjective information that people try to pass off these days as facts? Well, be sure to pick up your copy of Sports. Smart people only read the sports. It's a mixture of sports and hip-hop culture to keep you on the edge of your seat and to keep you laughing like you're watching a comedy special and to keep you thinking. Just go to sportsthebook.com or get your copy from our website at warroomsports.com, but wherever you get it, just make sure you don't miss it. Pick it up. All right, so back in the news, after Hurricane Florence come through and ravaged North Carolina, Michael Jordan is back on his philanthropic. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Philanthropic. I ain't gonna try no more. Mike is being a good guy, and he's donated, or at least pledged a donation of $2 million to hurricane relief. Look, man, again, like for me, kudos to Mike, man, because for me, all people want to harp on is the negative. They're going to harp on what Mike didn't do, what he didn't speak about, and all that kind of stuff. Look, he's doing stuff now, and it's not that he didn't do things back then. It just wasn't front page news. Mike was always the kind to give money. He didn't give his voice when maybe we needed his voice. But hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't say, I mean, if you meet the dude, as B. Austin has, I mean, you're going to know that he's still a jerk and probably a piece of crap. But, as far as giving back is concerned, like, he's doing that. And it doesn't matter how he's doing it, when he's doing it, where he's doing it. The fact is he's doing it. Like, we can't bash people for not doing something, but when they do, all we want to do is say how he should have done it.
Bash him and say it's not enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, kudos to Mike, man. He's donating $2 million for Hurricane Florence relief. And people can say tax write-off. People can say, oh, he's a billionaire, $2 million is chump change, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm a thousandaire. And if you ask me for $20 right now, I might give it to you, but don't think that ain't going to hurt my pockets. That $20 could have went to some pizza. That $20 could have went to something. So kudos to Mike, man. $2 million more from all the millions that he's been donating as of late. There's a Texas superintendent. Now, I'm going to have to pull up like a third screen here and actually get this because I still haven't been able to get to my notes. But there's a Texas school superintendent who, by mistake, posted on his Facebook page because he was watching the Texans game and he watched Deshaun Watson not get it done in the clutch. And he posted on his page, and he thought he was sending it in the private message, says, "You can't count on black quarterbacks." Now, while I get the story up, what are your thoughts on these comments from this white superintendent of a school in Texas?
I mean, this is America after all. Devin is laughing because, in truth, I probably feel like what came wrong. But no, this is America, and white supremacy, racism, bigotry, prejudice, stereotypes. That it's all par for the course. It all fits in the great legacy of this country and understanding the history of the quarterback position. Point guard, pitcher, those are positions in sports that are seen as leaderships or generalships because sports mirrors the military and vice versa. But no position in sports is seen as more of a leadership position than your quarterback. Your quarterback is an extension of your coach. He's an extension, in a lot of cases, of ownership. He's an extension of the power structure of an organization. I mean, I can go on and on and on with analogies for what a quarterback is, but you get the drift. He is the personification of leadership. So in American culture, we don't, historically speaking, ascribe leadership qualities and value and ability to black males in American society. You know, so that speaks to the history of this country and kind of old views. Now, through the years, what a lot of these folks who even come from this culture have realized is how foolish were we to think that black men can't play quarterback and can't win and can't lead. And look how much money we can make when we put these types of athletes at the quarterback position. Look how entertaining it is. Look how enjoyable it is to watch. And in the case of Russell Wilson, we can win Super Bowls even. My problem when I say my problem,
black quarterback thing, man, this is a Russell Wilson is overrated thing. Like, you know, when that Super Bowl was in the can and decided, Russell Wilson had like 12 yards past. They kept him in there passing, so his numbers wouldn't be embarrassing on that big stage. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying.
No. I get you. But what I also was gonna say is when we go into the real depth of white supremacy and even racism in this country, look at the difference in how black quarterbacks are taught to play the position versus white quarterbacks. There's a huge difference in the way they're taught the position, not their learning ability, not their comprehension, not their cognitive abilities, because believe it or not, playing NFL quarterback is far closer and akin to being a chess master than it is anything else athletic, because of what you have to know and master and understand about an NFL offense. An NFL playbook is 300 pages thick. So why are young black quarterbacks taught to be athletes and playmakers versus
that's the thing. You keep using the word taught, B. They're not taught. That's the thing. They're not taught. Because when you get a black quarterback who's athletic, the coach is like, yo, I want to win. You know what I'm saying? The coach, he teaches these other guys because without that teaching, you probably don't have much of a chance to win. Not saying that there aren't any white athletic quarterbacks, because there are plenty of them these days. But when you don't have one, you have to teach him the game. But that benefits him in the long run when he's looking to go to the next level and then the next level. Whereas you have this guy here and you're like, man, he can freestyle us to a championship, and that's going to make me look better as a coach, keep my job, get me more money, get me more opportunities. But when he leaves there, he don't know how to read a playbook. You know what I'm saying? He only called 4 plays in high school, and they were all out of the shotgun and that kind of stuff. So I pulled up the article, so let me give you the facts on this. Got to shout out his name. The superintendent name is Lynn Redden of the Onalaska Independent School District. I guess that's somewhere near Houston. So he went to Facebook on Sunday to express his frustration about the Texans, losing by 3 to the Tennessee Titans. On the last play of the game, Deshaun Watson held the ball as the game ended. You and I would have had a fit about that too. But when he commented on a link, there was a link to the Houston Chronicle article about the game. The Houston Chronicle probably had a Facebook page or whatever. He clicked on the link and he left the message that he thought he was private. And his message said, that may have been the most inept quarterback decision I've seen in the NFL. He hadn't seen Donovan play. Then he said, when you need precision decision making, you can't count on a black quarterback. That's how you feel? That's how you feel. We've spoken enough before I got to the facts, but it is what it is. And, we're never going to get that respect. We get some respect at the position, but we're never get full respect, until 100% earned, meaning, when we get a fair shake at it and we get taught the position like we're supposed to get taught the position. I think if they're not going to do it, I think that should be the responsibility of us. Like black coaches, don't use these guys just for wins. Teach these guys the way they should be so, they can have a shot at the next level and then the level after that. All right.
Right.
So the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has launched a social justice initiative with the city of Tampa. Let me read it. They announced on Monday a partnership focused on improving social justice causes within the community. So the president of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Foundation, she explained this player-led year-round operation focused on social justice and making an impact within the community through the leadership of some Tampa Bay Buccaneers players. So kudos to them for jumping behind a cause and actually going out there and putting some groundwork in and, putting your time in action. Don't always have to be your money, putting your time in action where your mouth is. Some of the guys I want to shout out, offensive lineman Donovan Smith and Ali Marpet, wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, D-Jack, defensive lineman Gerald McCoy. Those were the guys who were named as leaders of the Social Justice Board, which was formed 100% and led 100% by players. So shout out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, doing this as kind of a team effort being led by certain players, man. It's always good to see people doing good things in the community, man. I'm not saying he's the catalyst behind all of this, but he might be, man. So I always got to give a shout out to Cap for maybe instilling some heart into some of these guys to go out there and stand up for what's right. So shout out to that.
I don't even think you have to. I don't even think you have to qualify that statement at this point, man, because whether it's likely indirect, but he influenced these dudes. This doesn't happen without him. So I think that's a fair statement.
All right, and we got a story, a high school story from Washington, D.C., our old stomping grounds. So there's a homeless D.C. high school football player who's being kept off the field over questions of his eligibility. Now, his name is Jamal Speaks. He says he's homeless. He's not allowed to play for Baloo's football team. You know Baloo because we coached against them in basketball a couple of times. He wasn't allowed to play in a game for Baloo's football team last weekend because I believe it's the principal at Baloo High School. Principal Willie Jackson says he's not allowed to play because he says he doesn't have a resident. Because he's saying he's ineligible to play because he's not sure if this is his district. Now, the kid says that he's homeless. So technically, he doesn't have a district. If he's homeless, he stays, from what he's saying, he stays on friends' couches from time to time. But basically, he's homeless. He also has been having communication with Temple's football program. So Temple University was in attendance to see him play in this game, and the coach and the principal would not let him play. There's a lot of people taking the side of this kid in the matter. Even the head coach, who's been threatened with being fired if he allowed this kid to play. So I don't really understand what the beef is with this principal. Like if the school district doesn't have a problem with it, and the other teams don't have a problem with it, the coach doesn't have a problem with it. Like what is his axe that he has to grind that's so important that he won't let this kid who has, a kind of a unique story, like why won't he let this dude play? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
It's sad. It's sad when I see adults get behind technicalities and rules as opposed to the spirit of justice, because it's when we attach ourselves to what's righteous, spiritually right, hence I say the spirit of justice, that you really are able to teach children the right things to do. So now, unless this principal comes out, and there could be some extenuating circumstances, there could be obviously there's something in the story that we're not being told. But
before you even say that, let me give you the rest of the details. They have two DC athletic bodies, and he has been deemed eligible to play by the DC State Athletic Association, which oversees all high school sporting events in the district. But according to the principal, he says that the other body, the District of Columbia Interscholastic Athletic Association, which is the city's public high school athletic league, have ruled him ineligible in August. Now, back last Wednesday, the District of Columbia Public Schools officials said that they were investigating the matter and they're working with the DCSAA to resolve it as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, they said Speaks is allowed to practice and play with his team. But, his godmother said Wednesday that she's still unsure if the principal is going to allow him to play in Blues' next game, which is September 28th against Theodore Roosevelt. So I'm like, do the right thing, especially while it's under appeal, while they're still investigating if he's allowed to play during that time. Why not let him play? Because if they say he can play during that time, it's not like if they change their mind, they're not going to make you forfeit games or anything. And that sounds like that could be a fear of this principal, but he's not saying anything like that. So he's just looking like a jerk at this point.
Yeah, with all of that being said, and it's like we can kind of look at technicalities and nuances to the situation. To me, it just sounds like he's being a jerk. Like, you're just being a Richard head. This kid has an academic institution that could change his life based on his athletic ability and based on him hopefully doing well academically too. And you're hindering his ability to realize that opportunity. So that makes you a piece of crap. And you're older JoJo. You're older JoJo, because there's no, like, if I'm principal of that school, first of all, young man, I got an extra bedroom for you, or you can stay in my basement. Secondly, we're gonna make sure you're straight, your nutrition is right, and you can play. Like, there's not even a question of that. Like, I don't understand. And further, it makes me feel a little sad because it sounds like this principal is of the same ethnic or cultural background as the kid, and we know that when, 9 times out of 10. We know that when a lot of times in these situations, when Caucasian coaches and principals are faced with this challenge, not necessarily because they love the kid, but they love their program so much and what the kid can do, they'll make him eligible from the jump street to get the wins in their high school program and not even necessarily care about the kid per se. You have a chance to make a difference in a young man's life, and you're not doing so. So me personally, I would need explanation. I definitely need to hear from the principal what's holding him back. What's the situation here that you're hindering this young man?
Yeah. All right. So I hope everything works out with that, man. I would love to see the kid be able to play. Love to see him be able to go out there and earn that scholarship at Temple and change his life. But that's what somebody said, Donnell Milligan, a former Blue player. He said Jamal's a good kid. All he wants to do is play football and get out of Southeast. Southeast is Southeast Washington, D.C., for those who don't know. He said he always worries about other people and making sure they're straight before him. So sounds like he's a good kid, man. Do right by him. Do right by the young boy. All right, but that's what happened this week. Temple, just
give him that scholarship, Temple. Go ahead, give him that scholarship.
B. Austin requested one of these for Principal Jackson. let me give some.
What's wrong with you, Ray Ray?
Before we
Ray the principal.
Are brought to you by nobody. We want to give a shout out to the Human Joystick, or the man formerly known as the Human Joystick, Dante Hall. He turns 40 today. Guy Lafleur, NHL fame. I don't know, some countries they pronounce that Guy. I don't know if it's Guy or Guy Lafleur. But he turned 67 years old. John W. Henry, he turns 69 years old. John W. Henry owns something. He owns some team. I mean, is it the Buffalo Bills? I think it might be. No, I'm sorry. He's the principal owner of the Boston Globe and the Boston Red Sox and the Liverpool football team, and co-owner of Roush Fenway Racing. So he's a very, very rich man. And I apologize for mistaking you for somebody who owns something like the Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk about this a little later, with Vontae calling his grandma in the middle of the game. So shout out to John W. Henry, turning 69, very rich man at 69. And we'd like to give a rest in peace shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, Red Auerbach. He was born September 20th, 1917. He left this earth October 28th, 2006. So we'd like to give a big war room salute to all of these folks on their birthdays or in their birthday week.
Yay!
Again, y'all know the deal. Y'all can check out our website, .com, but if you want to call in and speak with us about anything going on in the NFL, that's what we're about to do. So you can dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline at 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. But if you're already listening from your phone, just make sure you press 1 if you want to rap to the homies. And this NFL rap is brought to you by Digital Extreme Technology. Do you or your business need a custom website? Well, for dynamic, professional, and most of all, affordable custom website solutions, you need Digital Extreme Technologies. No need to break the bank for an effective online presence. Top quality, results-driven websites at incredibly affordable prices. And even if the prices aren't as incredibly affordable as you need them to be at this very moment, you can put something on it because financing options are available. So visit digitalextremetech.com or call 267-205-4203. And for discounted rates, you better be sure to tell them the homies over at War Room Sports sent you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. This week has been a very, very, first, it's been a hilarious week in football. And the hilarity started on Sunday. We're going to go with the whole song on this, John. Huh? The hilarity started during the week 2 games when your man Vontae Davis of what's the show called? Hard Knocks. He was on Hard Knocks a couple years ago. He was a funny dude on that as well. But Vontae Davis of Hard Knocks fame decided that he was going to quit and retire at halftime of the Buffalo Bills game versus the Los Angeles Chargers. He has since explained why he did what he did. He's feeling like he's really at peace right now. A quote from him says, "Leaving was therapeutic." He said, "I left everything the league wanted me to be, playing for my teammates. While injured, the gladiator mentality, it all just popped." He said, "And when it popped, I just wanted to leave it all behind. So that's why I don't care what people say. That experience was personal and not meant for anyone else to understand. It was me, cold turkey, leaving behind an identity that I carried with me for so long." He had signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with Buffalo back in February. He's reportedly worth about $22 million. He hangs it up in the middle of a game. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm hearing mixed reviews about this too. I'm hearing a lot of people defending dude. A lot of football purists and people who played the game before are definitely not defending them because they're thinking you just left your dudes in the middle of the battle. You could have at least sat on the bench until it was over. You could have finished the game out. You could have done something rather than pack up and actually leave during halftime.
Yo.
Some of his teammates weren't happy, and I saw Lorenzo Alexander being interviewed, and he seemed very perturbed by the whole thing. As a former collegiate football athlete, B, what is your thoughts on Ball just packing it up in the middle of the game and calling it a career?
I'm going to just start this by saying if one of y'all jabronis retire in the middle of an episode, I'm coming to see you. I'm coming to see y'all so that we can have some physical conflict resolution. And I would expect nothing less.
You call my grandma? You went to the locker room and called his grandma.
Yo, your man went into halftime and said, I can't do this no more. I quit.
I'm done. See, but that's the thing. It's being reported as if it was an epiphany because a lot of people are out there saying, like, come on, dude. If you had these feelings, you probably knew that before the game. You probably knew that before the season. You probably knew that before training camp.
I researched this. I didn't want to just attribute it to him being from the Instagram generation or him being raised by all women or him and his brother. You know, there is some questioning of their sexuality. I didn't want to get into any of that, so I did research it. And what has been happening is he was signed by the Buffalo Bills, and they gave him a great contract. Like they gave him $1.5 million up front. They gave him like a $2.8 million salary, and then they gave him a bonus where he makes $40,000 for every game that he's on the active roster. So his compensation for the 2018-2019 season was going to be astronomical. When he came to camp, he was coming off an injury, so he wasn't able to participate. OTAs, same story. So he gets into regular season, and he's not in shape. So they are like, all right, Vontae, cool. You can call your grandma from the sideline as you get in shape. And they had 2 injuries to their starters. So they didn't expect Can You Call My Grandma to have to actually play. But when you're down your 2 starting corners, he had to go in and actually play. They said he was about 10 pounds overweight, but more than that, he was not in football shape to compete, and he was getting his doors blown off. As I guess whoever was watching that Buffalo game saw. But like you said, if you were having these feelings, getting your pride and dignity hurt a little bit isn't enough for you to want to retire. You knew before you signed that contract that you didn't really want to continue playing. You figured there was an opportunity for you to steal $5 million in the 2018-2019 season and get out of that season with the last little bit of football money, and you wouldn't have to play because you would have kept yourself in good enough shape to practice, but you wouldn't be counted on or called upon to start and actually play, and that's not what happened. You got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, and now you're a coward because you left your dudes. Yeah, he's whack for that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've heard so many people try to defend him. And for me, it's like, okay, if you don't feel that this is for you anymore, I totally understand that. If you're not going to continue this season, I totally understand that. But I just think, I don't know if the way he did this was an attention grab, like he wanted to go out with some kind of bang. But I just don't understand why you are fed up to the point where you just can't sit on the sideline for the rest of the game. Tell the coach, I'm not feeling right today, so, somebody's going to have to come in. He finished, talk to the coach like a man, and do it that way. But, there are plenty of people out there saying, kudos to him. I know it's a lot of people out there who fronting, they wanted to leave a job like that. He just did something that we all wanted to do. But, the reason why a lot of us don't leave a job like that, because we might care about our professional lives. We might care about, how you're perceived going forward. You never know. I might want to get back into that industry. So you don't want the way that you left, because football players, basketball players, all kinds of athletes get that itch again once in a while. But if he does get that itch and he feels like he gets the love for the game back again, who's going to trust him?
He'll never. Yeah. He'll never play again, not even in Canada.
If he wants to. All right, so, shout out to him. Shout out to the people defending him. Like, whatever. I don't think it's like some life or death thing, too big of a deal. I just think it could have been done in a different way. And, maybe we'll talk about it some more because maybe we can get more in depth next week and I can actually read some of the stuff in his defense. There were actually articles written, so there's some rational thought behind what some people are saying. But, since I don't have everything in front of me, I can't even paraphrase some of that stuff. So we'll talk about it again. Antonio Brown, speaking of people who make moves that we don't understand at times, Antonio Brown got into it on Twitter. I wouldn't say got into it, but he replied to a critic on Twitter who basically said AB needs to thank his lucky stars because he was drafted by a team that had Ben, and Ben got AB paid. Damn well he wouldn't put up those numbers for other teams. Antonio Brown's response to that on Twitter was, trade me, let's find out. So, of course, everybody jumped in on that. Everybody blew it up to the next level. People acted like he had really given Pittsburgh a trade request. Then it got to the point where you really had to question, was he serious? Because he ended up missing the team meeting the very next day. So I spent, a few minutes thinking about this, B. My question was, first of all, why would he even entertain that? Even if he didn't really want a trade from Pittsburgh, or if he was that frustrated that wanted a trade, I'm like, why would you entertain this? But then I found out that Brian Scarpino, right? But the Brian Scarpino, the person who did it, he's a former employee of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He used to be the PR man for the Steelers. So then it starts to make sense a little bit to me of why Antonio Brown would take offense to it and why he would actually use the words, trade me, let's find out. Because when I first saw it, I'm like, people were like, AB getting at him. But I'm like, AB just told a fan to trade him. A fan can't trade him, so, like, that's not even a tough comeback. But then I found out he used to work for the organization. So I'm thinking AB could be in sensitive mode here. And since it's coming from somebody who maybe used to be an insider, who probably still has friends within the organization, AB might be thinking like this may be the sentiment of some people within the organization, and he might just be, repeating that sentiment. This is all speculation by me, by the way. I'm just trying to make sense of why he even gave this dude the time of day. So he might think that may be what people in the organization think. So he's like, oh, yeah, if that's what y'all think, then trade me and let's find out. But then missing the meeting the next day wasn't a good look because it looks like you were upset. Mike Tomlin, who's already been, there's been reports about him losing his team in the news recently. Mike Tomlin said that he spoke to AB, that discipline was provided in the situation. I don't see anything about AB not suiting up this Monday night, so I don't know what kind of slap on the wrist he actually got. But I think that might be the stem, the root of what people say about Mike Tomlin. He's so much of a player coach. He doesn't really instill discipline in players. That's why people like AB does the things that he does. But what do you think about this whole situation, from the response to the, trade me, let's find out, to the fact that he missed the meeting the next day, which seemed like, a bluff on his part, in my opinion. He claims he had a personal situation, and Mike Tomlin claims he was disciplined for it. What do you think?
I think it's super deep. I think it goes back to Mike Tomlin not being in control of the organization and the locker room. Not the organization, but his team and his locker room. I think that you can trace the discord in the Pittsburgh locker room back to last season when there was a tear in the locker room as to what they were supposed to do in terms of some players wanted to kneel, some players didn't want to come out of the locker room, and then you had the grandstanding former member of this nation's service and special ops community, the lineman who came out and made the singular stand, and I got to see the flag when the anthem is being played. It ripped the locker room up. Then you have those that have certain resentment of the way Le'Veon Bell is conducting himself, which I don't really understand because we do know the nature of football, and we know that contracts aren't guaranteed, so you got to fight for everything that you get. And this dude is in a position where he's been franchised, so then you have the internal discord there with linemen kind of disrespecting L. Bell. Then you've got, Chatty Patty and him, and then you've got Antonio Brown, who really doesn't respect anybody and is a super duper Instagram social media guy doing live broadcasts in the
Right, he went Facebook Live during the post-game speech.
It's a Trav Shamockery all the way around, and we know that Ben Roethlisberger from Jump Street is a coward. So he's been throwing people under the bus in terms of team performances. It's really, really bad in Pittsburgh, and the reason that they remain even close to a 500 team is that they're blessed with a lot of talent. They got a ton of offensive talent and some pretty solid defensive talent, so they still win games, but there's no unity in the locker room, and I'm not quite sure along what lines it's torn. There may be several lines that's tearing it apart. Antonio Brown is a very selfish diva wide receiver. He's also super productive and a part of the engine that drives that team. He's another one of these dudes like Jimmy Butler who worked himself so hard and he puts in so much work to be the player he is that he feels he is entitled to and has the privilege and right to behave the way he does because no one puts in the work that he puts in to be who and what he is. So I get it, but yeah, there's a lot going on, and I think it all leads to and ends with Mike Tomlin's time in Pittsburgh being over. And that's not to say that I think Mike Tomlin isn't a very, very, very good coach. Sometimes even very good coaches lose the ear of the team and player. Shout out to Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid is a very, very good coach. Clock management notwithstanding. I think he just lost the ear of the players in Philadelphia, so it was time to move on. I think that's the case with Mike Tomlin, and I think this is just more evidence of that.
No, you definitely made great points, and Antonio Brown has a history of doing his own thing, dancing to the beat of his own drum, and this is no different. And when he feels he's slighted, especially after a game where he doesn't put up quote-unquote AB type numbers in a loss.
And he's always mad when the ball doesn't come.
That's what I'm about to say. Like, had they won this game, he'd still be a little upset with the numbers that he put up. So in a loss, that's even worse. And then this guy who, after research, after a little bit of research, we realized that a guy that he actually knows, because he used to be in the organization, takes a dig at him and tries to give all of the credit for the hard work that you just mentioned, B. Austin, to Ben Roethlisberger. You can kind of see why he would lash out like that. And like I said, with my speculation, you can see why he lashed out, and it seemed like it was directed towards the team with the trade me, let's find out. Because this guy was a former employee, like I said, I would bet, I don't know if he would ever say it publicly, but I would bet that Antonio Brown was thinking, if he's saying this, then, there's probably people in the organization saying this because he's probably still talking to people within the organization, or he just, already knows the thoughts of the people in the organization. So, we'll see what happens with that. I don't think his quote-unquote discipline from Mike Tomlin has been made public yet, but we'll be waiting on that. Hey, I wouldn't mind AB missing a game because, I got Juju on my fantasy team, so if Juju want to take all the reps and get off on Monday night, That's what's up.
Juju on that.
He don't deserve it. No doubt. So the Patriots got another steal this week when they traded a 5th-round pick for Josh Gordon from the Cleveland Browns. Now, let me give Cleveland kudos for one thing, because we don't usually give Cleveland any props for doing anything intelligent, because Cleveland usually doesn't do anything intelligent. Cleveland, whatever Josh Gordon did this time, because this was another behavioral situation where they got fed up, and during the weekend they made it public that they're going to release Josh Gordon on Monday. I give Cleveland all the credit in the world for doing so, because they knew exactly what they were doing when they made it public. They were causing a stir and causing a bidding war, because a lot of people who may have interest in him did not want to see him go through the waiver process and possibly miss out on somebody that they may not have to spend, a lot on in a trade, but they just wanted to make sure they could control their own destiny instead of waiting for the waiver process. So immediately after they did that, reports say that 8 to 10 teams contacted them over Josh Gordon. This kind of made sense to me, because I don't know if you were in the chat that day when they first said it. The first reply to the story that I put in the War Room Sports Game Time group in the GroupMe app was Josh Gordon going to the Patriots or not. Right after that, you heard there was 8 to 10 teams involved. They didn't even mention the Patriots. But that's your first thing, because if there's a coach in the league who, and a lot of people were saying the wrong thing this week. They were like, well, the Patriots don't, they don't mess with players with those kind of problems and this and that. I'm like, I freaking beg to differ. The reason I immediately went to the Patriots as a possible landing spot is because Bill Belichick and his organization are arrogant enough to think that any player in the league that couldn't be controlled elsewhere would definitely be able to be controlled in New England. Now, nobody did anything crazy. Nobody was out there getting felonies, and nor was Josh Gordon. He just had a drug problem for, most of the times that he got in trouble. But if you look at players in the past, like Randy Moss had some issues that a lot of teams were thinking he might not, his talent might not be worth the issues that he brings. LeGarrette Blount, who they won a Super Bowl with. Corey Dillon had some stuff on his record about, how he was at least in the locker room and some stuff that he had gotten into off the field. Like, the Patriots most certainly look at these type of players because they feel that they're the team that can control these type of players when they come to their organization. So they ended up getting in the mix and ended up trading a 5th-round pick for him. Now, we always talk about how intelligent the Patriots are, B. They covered themselves because if Josh Gordon doesn't play in 10 games, then they get their pick back. So if Josh goes out on another bender and he breaks team rules and he has to get suspended or disciplined for any reason or, whatever, they get their pick back, and they still have a chance to have this talent in their organization. So what were your thoughts when you saw that he went there?
Anger, frustration, the rich get richer. Because while, personally, I've said a lot about Josh Gordon, I think that talent-wise, he is super elite. But I don't trust him at all because he's one of these dudes that will get into an interview or even a meeting. He is, I don't know, have you ever seen him speak, Death?
I don't remember.
He's highly articulate.
I think we talked about that though. But let me before you finish, let me tell you why I don't remember. I don't remember, B, because this dude has played in 11 games in the past 5 years.
In 4 years.
So for me, there were a lot of people like that. Like, man, the Patriots, here we go again. They cheating. They're getting Josh Gordon. They're getting one of the top receivers in the league. I'm like, how do we know? The dude's played in 11 games in the past 5 years. He's had one good season in the NFL. I'm not saying he couldn't have had more, but the truth of the matter is he's had one good season because he's only kept himself eligible for one good season when he had 14 starts in 2013, 159 targets, 87 receptions for 1,646 yards and 9 touchdowns. Before that, in his rookie year, he didn't do anything special. 50 receptions for 805 and 5 touchdowns. He showed flashes. But in 2013, he was all pro. But a lot of people are excited about this in Patriot Nation, and a lot of people outside of Patriot Nation are mad and jealous of this. But, we don't know if Ball can even play. He looks the part.
Dev, honestly, I don't.
And then,
if we're comparing him to what he was in 2014, then I'm 1,000,000% with you. But if you see the receiver on the Patriots roster, I'm fairly certain he's somewhere in between nothing and what we saw in 2014. He's an upgrade. I believe.
That's the part I can definitely agree with, B, because looking at what they have and who's throwing to him. Like, if he has any chance in the world of getting back to what he did in 2013, it could be with this guy.
And his
but I'm not all like
super
scared of
you don't recall. So in finishing my thought, he's super articulate. He puts his thoughts together very well. He's a confidence man. He will finesse a conversation into you believing, oh my gosh, we got to give this guy a chance. He's so intelligent. He's so smart. He's sincere. And then time after time after time after time after time, he does the same thing over. So for me, there's no way that I would take a flyer or a chance on him because I've seen him articulate stuff like this many, many times in the past. I just don't trust it at all. But I feel like the Patriots have had a way of drawing success out of malcontents and seemingly derelict dudes. And I believe that at the worst, he's going to give them Brandon Cooks, type of production, like a little better than Brandon Cooks. He's going to be better than Philip Dorsett. So, if at worst they get another Chris Hogan, they won out of the deal for the money they have to pay. So, yeah, man, I was angry.
Yeah. We'll see how it plays out. Like I do agree, if anybody can bring the best out of this dude, then if Tom Brady can't, then who the hell can? Before we end, just got to give a shout out to Washington professional football team players. They're already calling out their fans for the attendance numbers and their home opener. This is like the first time in like 20 years that the Washington team didn't announce a sellout. Like last season, their opener got like 78,000 fans. This season, there was a little over 50,000 fans. And there was a lot of booing, when they did what they did. We only got like 30 seconds left, but I'm like, don't be upset, players. Y'all have to realize what these fans in this area has been putting up with for the better part of 25 years. Like, you have an owner who bleeds this community for money, but he never puts anything out on the field that's worth, the loyalty that they get. So he needed his fans to stick it to this team a time or two. And I hope that it continues, because maybe it'll put a fire under their butt, to do something better for a very loyal fan base, very delusional fan base at times. But the delusion comes strictly out of loyal. So shout out to them, but shout out to the fans for taking a damn stand. All right, so we're not going to really get to our games of the week. So if we can, we'll put out picks on social media. We just like to thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining us for another briefing in the War Room. Shout out to everybody on the chat room, Facebook, Twitter, War Room Sports, Game Time on the Group Me app, and all the callers who called in to holler at us. Special thanks to Gus Griffin as well, because he did send in his handicap picks, and I damn sure didn't read them, so I will put that on our Facebook page. And he'll be back with us next week. So you guys can tune in with us next week. live right here or on demand on the War Room Sports Podcast Network as we recap NFL Week 3 and preview Week 4. We'll also catch you up on everything else happening all around the world of sports. So until then, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the rest of this week. In the beginning of next week, we'll see you right back here next time. Be sure to catch our conversations on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our blogs, webcasts, and network podcasts on warroomsports.com. Also, make sure you pick up a copy of Jimmy's book at sportstobook.com or warroomsports.com. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance. And we will see you chumps on top. Peace.
Word.
All right. I'm a little late here. But y'all know what it is. We'll see y'all next time. Holla.
War Room Sports. www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.
6 to 8 they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Bay on replay. warroomsports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like magic in the block push. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip hop dollars, pit stop and knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us.